Thanks so much, JT. PMB, aloha. I'm so excited to be with y'all. And while I wish we could be in person, I'm super grateful that we're able to do this on a video and connect over Zoom. What a blessing it is to be able to have technology like we do today. There's so much to be said about the power of how our business can be built in 2020. It's so much different than it was even 5 years ago, certainly vastly different than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago. The reality is as we sort of dive into this conversation today, these next few minutes as we're together, of how you can become that professional, being a beginner, kind of an amateur, and evolving into that pro in our industry. I think it has a lot to do with you being aware so that you can tap into all of the blessings that are available to you and really anchor into gratitude every single day. I can tell you that I'm going to do my best to walk that tightrope of mindset and things you actually do over these next few minutes. For me personally, though, picking up on the things that were important for me to learn how to do fundamentally inside of this industry, those didn't take long. The thing that I noticed was really most difficult was learning how to master my emotions, because whenever you get started at something, typically is when you're most excited, or whenever there's a clear vision for what you want. You really haven't been hit yet with any real challenges. And as you begin to progress and things begin to grow and you experience some highs and experience some lows, at least for me, I can tell you that I was looking around. It was like comparison became the thief of my joy. And the more of my joy that was taken away, the less fun I was beginning to have. And the less fun I had, the less I really wanted to really open my heart up and become super vulnerable. And while on one hand, I saw myself as protecting my heart and, trying to stay away from getting hurt, on the other, that was exactly what was keeping me from winning, because I wasn't able to be present and I wasn't able to truly dive in and give all that I had into every moment that was given to me. And so, first thing I really want to just throw out there is that, yes, it's important to learn the fundamentals of this business. And as you're developing the skills and talents necessary to operate at the highest level within these particular segments of learning how to become a great presenter, learning how to discuss and conversate around different pieces of our brand, like what a product is, how it works, when to use it, those types of things, all the way to diving into the rewards plan. What is an FBR? What's a promotion? How to take advantage of it? What's rank advancement? All the way to the back office. Where is it? How do I log in? What does this mean? How do I get to this particular section? All of these things are important. But as you dive into these things is when you begin to really, in my opinion, learn how to master your emotions, because every single one of those areas isn't going to be clean, meaning it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to hit 1,000, right? You're not going to get an ace on every serve. And so if you can recognize that out of the gate and you have a healthy, honest conversation with yourself, then I feel like that's going to have a big impact on setting yourself up for not just short-term success. I feel like that's probably the simplest, but long-term success, as you recognize that it's a sprint and a marathon. Getting started in my college baseball career, I had an opportunity to play for the #1 team in the country. Well, we weren't when we started. We weren't that good, very talented, but not that good. That in and of itself is a training. Very talented, but not that good. Put that one on the shelf. We'll pull that one out for next conference. But I say that because one of the first things our head coach told us was, this is a sprint and it's a marathon. And that's what this is too. In other words, you have to move quickly every single day, operating with urgency, and at the same time moving with speed, but understanding you're going to be patient in the macro because it's a marathon, right? You don't want to wear yourself out. Now, the activities that you're going to dive into here, as I've mentioned, I gave you some examples: the presentation, bringing customers in, bringing affiliates in, having some that have great results, having some that, peter out a little bit and they kind of fade away like a firework in the sky, right? The reality is that it's important to understand that the only way you're truly going to get worn out is if it's an emotional thing. Because the physical things that you do here, they're not hard. They're really not. And it doesn't take that long to become proficient at them. But what wears people thin is they're not balanced emotionally. They aren't those chief emotional officers in their business. They're not operating from a grounded place. Comparisons constantly stealing their joy. The grass perceivably and, maybe being green on the other side, that voice in their head's constantly taking them away from the moment. And these aren't things that I've observed. They're also things that I've experienced. So I can speak to you from such a place that I just trust me here. If you can find that balance and just trust the process, not only is this going to be a fun ride, but it's going to be a successful one too. This first slide has everything to do with fun. I think being a professional and evolving into one has everything to do with being attached to the moment so that you can find your joy, find your flow, and have fun. This kid is clearly having fun. I mean, he may not have even ever won a championship, but it sure looks like he did. And it has a lot to do with how we win here at Prime My Body. As a man thinketh, as a woman thinketh, so is she, so is he. That has everything to do with bringing it into the world that we live in every single day. This next slide, I don't think it was coincidence that I was visiting my mom and dad 3 days ago, and we decided to watch this movie together. And while I'm not endorsing McDonald's, the reality doesn't change the fact that their business model and how their brand was founded is unbelievable. It's an amazing story. Ray Kroc, I didn't even realize, didn't actually create McDonald's. He certainly was the reason why it grew the way it did. And he was really struggling. He was 12 to 13 to 14 stores in. As he was getting his business cranked up, he was realizing, I'm making no money. The bank had just called his house. His wife now is on his butt because their house is getting ready to get taken from them because he took a second mortgage out on it. Things aren't looking good. There was a young guy at the bank that overheard him telling the banker, trying to explain his way out of this situation. Young guy follows him out of the bank. And at first, Ray was taken aback, just like, why are you eavesdropping? And the guy goes, dude, I want to hear what you're doing and why you're at where you're at. This shouldn't be the case. Long story short, it was at that moment Ray Kroc realized what business he was in. The guy told him, he goes, you need to buy the land. You need to lease that land to the franchisee so that before a burger's ever sold, you're making money. He goes, you're not in the hamburger business. He goes, you're in the franchise business and the real estate business. Now, many of us get caught up in, and it's not a bad thing, in just focusing on gathering customers. Yes, we want to do that. That is a foundational part of our business. And for some people, it's all they'll ever do. But that for others, they're looking at this, probably you, if you're spending your weekend on a call like this, learning how to build and develop and grow your business, right? You're going, how do I grow it even bigger? How do I expand around my city, my state, my country, the world? You do that by remembering or being introduced to what business you're in. You're in the people business. You're showing people how to take advantage of a digital cannabis business that they can build a network, show people how to become their own store. They can purchase their own inventory from themselves at wholesale, develop a customer base, and if they choose to, build their own network. The second you realize that, everything shifts, energy begins being dispersed in the correct places. And I believe you're going to begin to see things that compound upon themselves in the way that you've seen it happen for other people. This business is not a luck business. It's a skill business. There's a strategy about how you go about doing it. But you can get caught up in the way Ray Kroc was building McDonald's and find yourself 12 stores into it and not be making a lot of money and not having a lot of success. Or you can remember and go, you know what? That is what I'm doing, but that's not what business I'm in. You're in the people business. We're moving cannabis products and we're setting up distribution through people. Next slide has a lot to do with what I believe is important to do as you're building your business. Short term, I feel like even the biggest prankster, the biggest fraud can get away with a lot. But long term, What you're betting on, if you're a fraud and how you approach this business, is that people stay dumb and numb. And the reality is I don't want people to stay dumb and numb. And I certainly don't think that they are. If you're going to have a successful business, I feel it's important that you hope people grow mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. You want that vibration to lift. In other words, for that to happen, you have to be someone of authenticity, someone that when they look at you, they go, you know what, I can trust this person. What they say is what they mean. What they mean is what they say. So a few things I wrote down that I feel like lend to that is, number one, you're someone that pays attention to the detail. Number two, you're someone that takes pride in your work. Number three, you're grateful for the opportunity. Remember, that has a lot to do with you being able to be present, finding joy in the moment. Number four, you show up. One of my biggest concerns whenever I got started in business was that people weren't going to want to follow and listen to me because I was young and I was inexperienced. Now, you may not be young. You may look young. You may not be young. That's, again, another training for another conference, right? But you certainly might be inexperienced in business, or maybe you are experienced in business, but you're not experienced in this industry. It's not experience that people always attach themselves to and follow. Yes, that's important, but people also follow authenticity. People follow heart. People follow people with vision. People follow people with hustle. People follow people that believe in where they're going and believe in who they're becoming because they inspire something inside of them to say to themselves, you know what? That can be me too. We can never lose sight of the fact that our testimony is oftentimes someone else's permission slip to step into their destiny and to walk into their greatness and God-given potential. This next slide has a lot to do with what I've sort of been background music throughout today's discussion. Are your emotions distorting your perspective? My challenge is that if you ever feel yourself getting off kilter, do what it takes to find your center. For me, I love kind of crazy when I'm in Houston. I go out to my ranch, meditate in the middle of my field. I do it for 15 or 20 minutes. That's killer for me. If I'm at my office, I'll go on my balcony morning or evening, find my center. And if I'm on an airplane, again, I have things that I do to help me find my flow and my center. It's important that you do the same. Also having accountability partners, mentors, people that you can just have discussions with about where you're at, what you're going through. The gentleman that introduced me, JT, he's been for me, and I know in some ways me for him. Some people say it's not important to mix friendship and business. The thing that makes JT and I's business relationship so strong is that we have such a trustworthy and powerful personal relationship. We trust one another to open our heart up and share things that we're dealing with. And we're able to challenge one another too. JT tells me things that I don't want to hear all the time about things that maybe I'm not seeing that I can improve upon. And I know I do the same for him. Find those people and those places in your life that can help you find your center. As we wrap up, this next slide is sort of Austin's tip for success. Move with speed, move with urgency. Micro speed, micro hustle, micro urgency. Remember, sprint, marathon. The sprint part is the speed and urgency hustle. The marathon part is the macro. We're going to be patient. We're going to trust the process. Third, have confidence. Wake up, speak into existence, speak into the world. Everything it is your creator put you on this planet to accomplish. Because remember, there's a light inside of all of us. And every day when we turn on the news or turn on social media, we're sitting in traffic and people are honking and they're frustrated. There's something about that negativity that removes us from that light. Do not ever forget what has been placed inside of us is far greater than any trouble that will take place outside of us. Find that light, tap into that confidence. Lastly, I've said it once, I'll say it again, have fun. Surround yourself with people who are fun to be around and that put a smile on your face. And, recognize the vibe in this brand and contribute to it. There was a quote by JFK, I'm probably going to paraphrase it, but he says, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. PNB is certainly something that's given back to me. Oh, there's my timer, so we'll wrap up. And I'm blessed with what I can receive from it. But at the same time, I also want to be someone that contributes to that vibe so that as we grow, that vibe increases, that frequency lifts, and we're able to attract more and more people. Lastly, as we wrap up, are you going to stay comfortable? Are you going to step into your calling? No reason to expound upon that. I hope this information has been valuable to you. I know that this brand is so important to me, and all of the messages and words and conversations that have been centered around dream, believe, achieve have been impactful for my life, and I hope they have been for you as well. JT, love you, man. Back to you.